What if the talent you were meant to share with the world has been quietly waiting all this time, not in your youth, but in the wisdom of your years? This video is not about starting over, it's about uncovering the purpose that was growing inside you while you were busy living. Attention-grabbing opening. Have you ever woken up on a winter morning in Toronto or Vancouver, looked out the window at the falling snow, and suddenly realized you're living the life of a complete stranger? It's not the usual "oh, I'm getting old" feeling, but a genuine shock. You look in the mirror and see someone who spent 30, 40 years building a career, raising children, paying off a mortgage, only to discover they lost themselves in the process. Our brains have a strange mechanism. They can drive on Highway 401 without thinking, run the 1000th meeting of your life on autopilot, but when faced with the question, "What is my true talent?" it suddenly goes silent like snowfall in a Manitoba winter. This isn't a sign of aging, but a consequence of delegating too much mental energy to social roles, employee, parent, partner, to the point of forgetting our original selves. Neuroscience calls this the autopilot effect. A study from the University of Toronto shows that by age 50, the average person has made over 5 million habitual decisions, causing the brain to form such deep ruts that we struggle to recognize our other latent abilities. But this is precisely the good news. You don't lack talent, you just need to escape those well-worn paths. Try this small exercise right now. Close your eyes and recall something you were exceptionally good at when you were younger, maybe drawing, writing, fixing things, or even telling jokes. Now ask yourself, has that skill disappeared, or is it just buried under the snow of adult responsibilities? Like a maple tree seed lying dormant under the frost waiting for spring, your talent hasn't vanished, it's just waiting to be awakened. The challenges of being 50. You know what's strange? When we pass age 50, an invisible pressure weighs us down, the pressure to be stable. Society whispers to us, at this age, be content with what you have. But what does science say? A 75-year Harvard study reveals that people who continue to develop themselves after 50 have significantly better mental and physical health. The reality is, our brains at 50 are not old. They're just different. Professor of psychology Daniel Levitin from McGill University explains, the middle-aged brain loses processing speed but gains crystallized intelligence, the ability to connect complex ideas that a younger brain cannot. Look at successful late bloomers in Canada, best-selling authors who started writing at 60, artisans who found a passion for pottery at 70. They are not exceptions, they simply dared to challenge the stereotype that it's too late. A practical exercise for you today: take a piece of paper and write down 3 things you've always been curious to learn but never dared to try. It doesn't have to be grand, maybe cooking a new dish, learning a few phrases of French, or trying to paint a landscape. This isn't about becoming an expert, but about awakening the curiosity that is the fuel of talent. The science of talent after 50. Here's a scientific truth that might surprise you: your brain at 50 plus is actually better equipped for mastering new talents than you might think. While raw processing speed may decline slightly, what neuroscientists call crystallized intelligence, your accumulated knowledge and pattern recognition abilities, peaks in your 50s and 60s. Think of it like this: a young brain is like a fast computer with limited storage, while your brain now is like a supercomputer with massive hard drive space. Research from the University of British Columbia shows that the mature brain's myelination, the insulation around nerve fibers, is more developed, allowing for more efficient communication between different brain regions. This means you can see connections and patterns that younger people might miss. It's why many famous authors, artists, and innovators did their best work after 50. The key is what psychologists call deliberate practice, focused, intentional effort on specific skills. Unlike when you were young and had to learn everything from scratch, you now have decades of life experience to draw upon. Learning a new language? You understand grammar concepts better. Taking up painting? You have a richer emotional palette to express. Try this. Think of one skill you've always wanted to develop. Now, break it down into the smallest possible components. Want to play guitar? Start with just holding the pick correctly for 5 minutes daily. The brain learns best through consistent, tiny repetitions rather than marathon sessions. Self-discovery exercises. Now let's talk about a simple but powerful tool that can help you unearth forgotten talents, the passion timeline. Take a large piece of paper and draw a timeline from age 15 to the present. On it, mark all the moments when you felt excited, passionate, or completely immersed in an activity. The science behind this method is fascinating. Research from the University of Toronto shows that youthful interests and talents are often interrupted rather than completely disappearing. When you see these repeating patterns, perhaps a love for writing, a passion for gardening, or an interest in mechanics, you're actually mapping your natural energy sources. Try this specific exercise. For the next 3 days, carry a small notebook. Whenever you catch yourself losing track of time while doing something, feeling excited about helping someone solve a problem, voluntarily researching more about a topic, record these moments. After 3 days, you'll see a pattern emerge. This is the clue to your true talents. Inspirational story. Let me tell you about Margaret, a retired school librarian from Halifax. At 68, she found her life empty after her children moved out and her husband passed away. One day, while cleaning the attic, she found her old sketchbook from high school, full of botanical drawings she had completely forgotten about. Margaret decided to try something small. She bought a simple sketchpad and started drawing the plants in her garden. At first, her hands shook and the drawings were clumsy. But she persisted, sketching for just 15 minutes each morning with her tea. Within 6 months, something amazing happened. The local community center noticed her drawings and asked her to teach a botanical art class for seniors. Today, at 72, Margaret teaches 3 classes a week and her students' work was recently featured in a local gallery exhibition. What's the scientific principle here? Research from the University of British Columbia shows that small wins, consistent, achievable accomplishments, create dopamine releases that build momentum. Margaret didn't set out to become an art teacher, she simply followed a small spark of curiosity. Action plan. Now, let's transform inspiration into action with a practical 3-step plan. First, the micro-commitment. Choose one small, tangible action you can take this week that aligns with your rediscovered interest. If you were drawn to writing, commit to writing 3 sentences each morning. If gardening called to you, start with 1 potted herb on your windowsill. The key is consistency, not scale. Next, create what psychologists call environmental cues. Place your guitar in the living room instead of the closet, or keep your sketchbook on the kitchen table. A study from the University of Toronto shows that reducing friction increases follow-through by 70%. Your environment should remind and invite you to engage with your talent daily. Finally, establish a progress ritual. Each Sunday, spend 5 minutes reflecting on your small wins. Did you practice 3 times this week? Learn 1 new chord? This isn't about judgment, it's about building evidence that you're moving forward. The brain responds to visible progress with renewed motivation. Remember Margaret's story? Her success wasn't born from grand gestures, but from daily sketches with her morning tea. Your journey starts the same way, 1 small, intentional step at a time. Overcoming psychological barriers. Are you telling yourself, "I'm too old to start something new"? This is the hidden thief of motivation, age-related imposter syndrome. Science calls this selective negative self-assessment, where our brains exaggerate difficulties and underestimate our own abilities. Try this small experiment. For the next 2 minutes, write down all the reasons why you can't pursue your talent. Then, read that list aloud and ask, is this really true, or is it just fear disguised as reason? An interesting study from the University of British Columbia reveals that adults over 50 often underestimate their learning ability by up to 40%. But the reality is, your brain still produces new neurons every day, a phenomenon called neurogenesis. The problem isn't capability, but belief. Replace the phrase "I can't" with "I haven't tried yet." This small difference activates the brain region responsible for curiosity and exploration, rather than the fear center. Concluding with motivation. Your talent after 50 isn't about starting over, it's about returning home to yourself. Like a river that has flowed through varied landscapes, you've gathered depth and richness that no young stream could possess. The world doesn't need another 25-year-old prodigy, it needs the wisdom, perspective, and unique voice that only you can offer. Remember, the maple tree's most vibrant colors appear not in spring, but in autumn. Similarly, your most meaningful contributions may be waiting exactly where you are now. This isn't about achieving external validation, but about answering the quiet call of what makes you feel truly alive. Start small, but start today. That first sentence, that first brushstroke, that first note, that's where new chapters begin. Your journey of contribution starts not someday in the future, but with the very next breath you take. That's all for today. I'll be making more similar videos in the future. Please subscribe to watch.